elementary families. Our 5th and 6th grade students have created an informational and entertaining Black History program. Our program celebrates our diversity. Appreciating the positive impacts of our diversity can enrich our lives. Understanding our differences makes us stronger, individually and as a community. United, we stand.
Welcome to our first virtual Black History program.
Or American History program as it relates to African Americans.
For we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So sit back,
Relax,
and enjoy.
stand with us as Marilyn, Dante, and Aiden Walker lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
We stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless our troops.
Give your attention as Dion Keys introduces the Black National Anthem.
Lift Every Voice and Sing, as it is formerly known, was written by James Weldon Johnson and J. Rosamond Johnson in 1900 to commemorate President Abraham Lincoln's birthday and his actions of freeing slaves. The song soon was heard in large African American churches and gatherings across the nation. It soon became known as the Black National Anthem. Please stand with us as we sing our national anthem.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise, bright as the listening skies. Let every sound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought. Sing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
Watch as we inform you about the Emancipation Proclamation and how Juneteenth came to be.
In 1863, at the time of the Civil War, there were 4 million African Americans trapped in slavery throughout the southern United States. President Lincoln was opposed to slavery and signed a document called the Emancipation Proclamation to end it. To emancipate means to set free. With the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, many African Americans were freed from slavery and left the southern United States. They traveled to the northern states and joined the war to fight against the South. Their participation helped the North to win the Civil War. There were still many landowners who held people as slaves and refused to support the Emancipation Proclamation. Most of these landowners lived in the state of Texas. In 1865, President Lincoln called for an amendment to the Constitution. This 13th Amendment in the Constitution was written to fix or improve our country's position on slavery once and for all. This forced all of the states, including Texas, to end slavery. On June 19, 1865, the 13th Amendment was read to the people of Texas. African Americans who had been held as slaves celebrated because this meant they were forever free. June 19th, also known as the blended word Juneteenth, is observed throughout the United States by African Americans, as well as white Americans. It celebrates the end of slavery and reminds us that everyone in the United States has the right to enjoy freedom.
Informs us about life after Emancipation Proclamation.
Even after the Emancipation Proclamation, life is still very difficult for African Americans. Segregation laws such as Jim Crow laws kept blacks and whites separated. Just when it seemed that things were getting better with the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, then came the Plessy versus Ferguson landmark case. Plessy versus Ferguson landmark case of 1896 was when the U.S. Supreme Court decision upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation under the separate but equal doctrine. This made matters worse for African Americans.
Good news! Good news! Good news!
What's the good news?
The good news was that the Plessy versus Ferguson was overturned with the Brown versus Board of Education. Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka in 1954 was a case where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously that racial segregation in public schools violated the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. The 14th Amendment prohibits the states from denying equal protection of laws to any person within their jurisdictions. The decision declared that separate educational facilities for white and African American students were inherently unequal. It therefore rejected the separate but equal doctrine as being applicable to public education advanced by the Supreme Court in Plessy v. Ferguson, 1896, according to which the laws mandated separate public facilities for whites only.
Listen as Lyndon Jackson and Naomi McCall inspire you with the poem by Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trap me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sadness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my womb. Just like moons and like suns with certainty of times, just like hopes breaking high, still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head, lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your faithfulness, but still like air, I'll rise. Out of the clutch of history's shame, I'll rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I'll rise. I am a black ocean, leaping and wild, welling and swelling, and I bear it in the tide. Leave behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a day record that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
At this time, Vincent Hyde, Jacob, and Adam Griffin will share important events that took place during the Civil Rights Movement.
Hey, did you know that the children were involved in the Civil Rights Movement? It was the Children's Crusade of 1963 that helped to bring attention to the injustices that were going on the South. Children marched from the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama to protest segregation. They were trained in nonviolence.
Did you know that college students, black and white, sat together to protest segregation of the lunch counters? These students were also trained in nonviolence. This was called the sit-in movement. Sit-ins were a form of a peaceful protest that occurred when a person or a group of people entered a segregated facility, such as a restaurant, and demanded service. Did you know that black and whites, young and old, male and female, rode on buses together to protest against interstate segregation? Segregated waiting rooms, restrooms, and the like. Segregation of buses and trains and interstate transportation facilities were against federal law, but local officials often ignored the law. These protesters were all trained in nonviolence. In fact, in order to participate, they had to be committed to nonviolence. Participate in workshops that taught them how to respond if they were attacked, and they had to be willing to sacrifice their life. They were called freedom riders.
Now we'll have a presentation of a version of the poem called Hey Black Child.
Hey, brother child! Hey, brother child! Do you know who you are? Who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, brother child! Do you know where you're going? Where you're really going?
Do you know you can learn what you want to learn?
If you try to learn what you can learn.
Hey, Bel-Aire child. Do you know you are strong? I mean really strong. Do you know you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do?
Hey, Bel-Aire child. Be what you must be. Learn what you must learn. Do what you can do. And tomorrow, your nation will be what you want it to be.
At this time, Tatiana Acosta, Milia Waller, and Robert Monza will inform us about the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Voting Rights Acts of 1965.
It was almost a decade before the schools integrated because many southern states were not willing to end segregation. The 1954 Brown versus Board of Education helped to stimulate the Civil Rights Movement, which led to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This act ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It is considered one of the crowning legislative achievements of the Civil Rights Movement. What a victory.
Congress later expanded the act and passed additional civil rights legislation such as the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, signed into law on August 6, 1965 by President Lyndon B. Johnson, was aimed to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote as guaranteed under the 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Another victory of the Civil Rights Movement.
This concludes our Black History program, which is an integral part of our American history.
We're at Bel-Aire. We stand united. We hope you enjoyed it.